broads, if you right now are thinking, excuse me, it is Tuesday, and normally Tuesday episodes are Bachelor recaps, and I'm pretty sure that there was a Bachelor episode last night, so WTF, maybe you're feeling a little bamboozled. Do not worry, we had a little bit of a episode schedule shift just for this week, because tomorrow is our Queen Becca's birthday, and I could not have her coming in and recapping until the wee hours of the morning when she should be taking a couple days to relax and enjoy the day of her birth. So today we have a special episode where we are going over your sex and relationship questions. We had so much fun doing this. If you all enjoy it as much as we enjoyed doing it, let us know. We think we need to do a part 2 because we have so many good questions left. But Thursday, we will have our Bachelor recap episode out. We will be covering the most recent episode of Mr. Matt James and apparently Tyler Cameron. I haven't watched the episode yet. Very excited to get into that. Lots of tea to cover, and I believe we'll be having a special guest or two that you will love. So that will be out Thursday. Cannot wait to chat with you all then. But for now, please relax, kick back, get sexy with us, and let's get into it. That actually wasn't too bad. Let's get into it.
And welcome to another episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Well, hello, broads.
I don't know why every time we start, I want to say now, like, good morning. What is that from? It's like good morning, something family, or like it's from a show or something.
I feel like I don't know
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I feel like it's The Office. But I think I feel like everything these
I know
days
you think
is The Office.
What did you say? You said last week something was The Office when it was really
George Bush.
Was it? Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Michael Scott. Honestly, though, the fact is this. Michael Scott is on my brain often. We're talking about sex today, and the fact of the matter is I am so attracted sexually to Steve Carell, and I've been just watching a lot of The Office again. I just can't help myself.
Are you attracted to, would you sleep with Michael if you worked in The Office?
You know what's so, like, it makes my body hurt to say it, but 100%.
You would. You would, you little slut, for sure.
I would 100% because, like, just how, like, I just know afterwards, too, he would just make such a stink and be obsessed with me, and I would hate my life, but I just don't know if...
you wouldn't be able to resist.
I couldn't resist because every once in a while, he just throws out those lines, and you're like, wait, why all of a sudden is that charming? You're a nightmare. Also, just the Steve Carell, the daddy energy is too strong.
That's real. Well, today I am really excited to be talking about sex. I think this will be really fun. Oh, also, apologies apologies for the order of this week. Got a little shaken up. I mean, I don't know why I'm apologizing. You're just going to have to wait a couple more days.
Girl, never apologize
on the episode. Yeah, who cares? Just kidding. Sorry, guys. I'm getting a little too worked up because I deleted my Instagram. And, you know, my life has literally never been fucking better. I'm not joking. I woke up this morning and it was like...
The birds were like chirping. The sun was shining.
It was like yeah. It was like the montage from like 500 Days of Summer, where it's like you make my dreams come true. I was like, wake up, check my phone. There's nothing to fucking check because I don't have Instagram downloaded. And I was just like,
it is a freedom, a freedom.
Do you know what I'm considering? Like straight up, because every once in a while, I need something really radical in my life. I'm considering maybe I'll take a year off of Instagram, a whole year. Yeah.
Wow.
Like I'm actually thinking, I was thinking about it last night. Have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Interstellar.
Many times.
It's so good. I'm so obsessed with my fucking art class that just makes us watch sci-fi movies. Like halfway through the movie, I was like, my mission well, I've been reading the Pattern app, and it's like you need to focus in on like what your mission is and what your purpose and is like what you're doing right now like fulfilling you and blah blah blah, or are you just aiming towards material gain because like you're not the type of person that material gain makes you happy. And I was just like thinking about it, and I was like, maybe I need to quit Instagram for a year, and I'll talk about it all through 2021 and like do a little like, you know, maybe press circuit and try to like get people on my side. Like, let's detox off the gram and get off of the matrix. Instagram is our matrix.
It's true. And honestly, like it would feel like such a purge then to be able to but then also have an outlet like the podcast, like your Patreon.
Exactly.
To then talk.
Exactly.
But then you wouldn't be consumed with the Insta all the time. You know what? I feel that. I truly do.
Right?
Yeah.
That was my thought. I was like, well, the podcast, like that's an outlet to still be able to share ideas, to have like a purposeful exchange with like the world that interests me. But yeah, I'm like, all right, maybe we just save up some money this year and then take a year off the IG for 2022. Who knows? Thinking about it.
I don't think that that's a bad idea. You know what was really fun is I was talking with one of my girlfriends yesterday, and her and I hadn't like had a long Zoom sesh for a long time, and we were kind of like working together. And she's been off Instagram for about 8 months now, and just social media in general. And I started bringing up all this stuff she had no idea about, and it was so fun. I was showing her everything. I was like, have you heard of Zillow Gone Wild? Because you showed me that. I'm showing her all this shit. Her mind is blown. I'm like, well, you know, horse girls from TikTok. And she's like, what's a horse girl? And I'm showing her all the horse girls, and she's just like, what happened in the past few months? I don't understand.
For real.
And
oh my God.
fun.
Seriously, taking off the past 8 months off of Instagram, what a time to be off of social media.
Right? I'm like,
holy
whoa.
cow.
Yeah. And she's like been super just like, yeah, I've just been, you know, super invested in like the news and all that, but I'm just fully off of social media. And I'm like, I don't even know, like, do you know what anything is anymore at this point?
I mean, that's the one thing I'm like, am I going to lose cultural relevance? Like, not me, but like, am I going to be out of touch with what's culturally relevant? Nah, I don't think so. I took off a year and a half off Instagram few years back, like I want to say in 2015. So I guess Instagram wasn't quite popping, but it was still pretty popping. And I took off a year and a half off of all social media. And at the end of that time period, I didn't really feel like I was missing out on that much, to be completely honest.
Do you know the last time that I took a break off of social media was like fully off of it was during a breakup?
That's when I did mine. Mm-hmm. That's when I did mine. It was after a bad breakup, and I was like, gotta get off it.
I think you and I talked about that, Broads. If you haven't listened to our Breakup Broads episode, I feel like it's one of our best ones. You and I both talked about how that's one of the biggest recommendations that I give to anyone who's going through a tough breakup. I'm just like, delete social media. I know the temptation is to want to like still, you know, see everything that's going on or even keep up with your ex or whatever. But it's like, it's the best thing ever. Deleting all of my social media when I was going through a breakup was it like a full game changer for me. I was able to heal so much faster, I think.
Yeah. And you know what I've been realizing sometimes is like, or what I've been thinking about recently is we've been talking about, you know, like with the Social Dilemma documentary and just in general conversation, how social media has been dividing people so much. Mm-hmm. And like just with like political and political ideology, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And just in general, like, I don't know, it's become this sometimes like really toxic outlet for opinions that I use it in a toxic way too. I'm not pointing fingers. But it's like, man, if we could all figure out ways to, I think maybe doing a big detachment and then figuring out how to incorporate it in a healthy way.
In bits, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also considering that maybe during that year, if I take a year off social media, I'll write like an influencer tell-all. And I'll be like, this is how much money influencers are making. Like, this is like basically, yeah. And I'll call it something like Beyond the Screen or something like that. And I'll just like talk about like the secret world of influencing.
Just spill piping hot influencer tea.
Well, yeah,
everyone wants to know.
People and I'd get like anonymous women. Like, I'd be like, what was your highest paid gig ever? like, and talk about that kind of stuff, because I feel like people really have no idea.
I want to read it. I'm so curious. I only know like, you know, a little bit of like what you've told me, and obviously like I'll do some ads, but I'm like micro, so it's like, you know,
that's even
it's very
fascinating to
minimal.
talk about. That's fascinating to talk about too, though. Like what micro influencers are getting paid, like what the whole ad process like entails. I don't know. All that stuff I think is pretty interesting.
It is interesting.
Anyway.
Well, you know what else is interesting? Us talking about sex, relationships, etc. Broads, listen, I know that we typically, today is the day that normally the Bachelor recap drops. Because it's Becca's birthday, it's like gotta give the woman just a breather here and not do the late night watch and recap. So our Bachelor recap episode will be dropping on Thursday. And also, just a heads up, I think we may be joined by some special guests, which will make it even more exciting. So worth the wait, broads. But listen, it's almost Valentine's Day. So, you know, just to be cute and cliche, we thought we'd do a fun
Just to be cute.
sex relationship like Q&A episode. And you broads sent in a bunch of cues that were so good. And honestly, if you all like this, because we got so many questions, if you're living for this, maybe we do a part 2 next week. Who knows? If this is something, let us
so down.
Let us know. Okay, so can we just hop into one? Because
I am so down.
I had a big question for you, because this was just applicable in my life. Okay.
Holy shit, there are so many questions. I love this.
I know.
By the way, I'm going through all of them. I'm
It's
obsessed.
so good. It's so good.
Okay, yeah. First question. I'm excited.
Okay. What's the best time of day to have sex?
I don't think that's a universal answer. Depends on for me, depends on the scenario. Depends on whether or not the kids are home. Like, I mean, for me now, I may have had a different answer earlier in my life, but for me now, I have to know that the kids are 100% fully down for the night. So
Yes.
and preferably like 9 or 10 p.m. where it's not too late, where I won't be stressed out about losing sleep. But I've already had a moment to de-escalate from the day and relax and breathe and like, pause. And when I know the kids are fully asleep. So, I mean, that's just so particular to my situation though.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, yeah. That's my answer.
What about if no kids are involved? Are you still a night person?
No, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes morning sex is nice if you're in the mood. Sometimes I don't like I get really anxious about like wasting time. So sometimes like on a lazy Saturday, I don't like having sex at like 1 or 2 p.m. because then I'm like, oh, now I feel like I have to like shower, and what a just like waste of 2 hours in the middle of the day.
Okay, girl, child or not, I do not like nighttime sex. I get in a mode where I'm like, I just want to talk. I want to watch a show. I want to eat.
I get that.
I want to be in my sweats, and I do not have anything in me. I like maybe a little bit of cuddling, but no, the nighttime is not it for me. To me, I feel nothing better than an afternoon. I mean, for me, it's like there's nothing better than afternoon sex. Afternoon Delight, that song really, really hits for me.
I do love that song. That song is such a smash hit.
Like,
I love it.
There is nothing to me.
Flight.
Boo! Speaking of Steve Carell.
Afternoon Delight. Yeah, that's a banger.
Well, to me, nothing is like having sex and you feel like the sun coming through the window like midday, and you hear like the birds outside, and you have sex, and it's like, you know, you're not this is very contextual, but if you're not in a rush, and then once you're done having sex, you're just like kind of like lays around for a second. You're like, should we go like do happy hour somewhere? And
I feel that.
Oh my God.
I feel that. But for that scenario, like I feel like I've become so much more anal as a mom now.
Sure.
If the house is perfectly clean and I don't have any work to do, that is amazing. I'm so into it.
Yeah.
If our like bedroom's kind of disheveled and there's like clothes to put away, like
it's a no. Yeah.
Or like dirty dishes in the sink, I'm just like, yeah. No, I feel that though.
But
Totally.
I hear you. No, if you're in mom mode, like if you just put the kid down for a nap and you're like, I have 100 things I need to do. Don't even get near me right now. But when you don't have that.
Ideally, actually, okay, I would say like afternoon. See, like I said, I get anxiety about like wasting time. But if we were like outside in the backyard, like maybe going swimming or like doing backyard chores and then just taking like a little pause to have sex, I'm super down with
Like,
that.
what
Love
is
that.
better? What is better than going away for like a couple days, or even if you're like gone on vacation for a week and you're by the pool and you've been there since like 10, 11, you lay out and like you're like, oh, it's like 2, 3. Should we go back and take a nap?
Okay, that's different. That is different because then you're gone. You're away from responsibility.
Sure.
Well, I'm so there with you.
But then
I'm there with you.
After being just in the sun for hours, you go
lazy. When
cool.
you said the sun coming through the window, I felt that like on it.
It's like lazy rolling around, and then afterwards, like you take a shower and you're like, let's go out to dinner, like on our little vacay. Oh my God. It's honestly, I want to cry right now. I miss vacation.
I feel like Palm Springs could happen soon, like let's do it.
We keep our fingers crossed. We keep our fingers crossed.
We're getting there.
I believe in all of us. Okay, broads, we have to take a quick pause, but I need to ask, for those who have breasts here, do you remember how excited you were to shop for your first bra? I think I was maybe 12 or 13, and I was so excited. And that excitement lasted for all of about 30 minutes into my first bra shopping experience because I quickly realized that it sucked. Okay, dimly lit fitting rooms, less than friendly sales associates, picked over size racks. Underwhelming would be the understatement of the year. Of course, for years, that was the standard bra shopping experience, but no more. No more, because you can enter Third Love, okay? The online bra shopping platform that has totally changed the game. I mean, you can shop for a bra from the comfort of your own home, which is a major upgrade. Then you can find your perfect fit and style by taking Third Love's fitting room quiz. It's designed to get just a quick understanding of all the things that'll help determine the right bra for you, which is like breast shape, current fit issues, your personal style, and inclusive sizing. Okay, Third Love offers more than 80 sizes, and they also offer half cup sizes, which is a game changer. I'm in love with every single bra I've gotten from Third Love. They've done it. I can't wear any other bras, okay? I'm Third Love for forever. But I also love that if I get something that isn't quite right, exchanges or returns are super easy and completely free. Zero risk shopping is my kind of shopping. And Third Love even donates all of their gently used return bras to people with breasts in need. So far, they've been able to donate over $40 million in bras. That's pretty incredible if you ask me. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they're offering our listeners 20% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/chatty now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 20% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/chatty for 20% off today. So broad babes, you know I can be struggle city in the kitchen, but there is a savior, and the savior is Green Chef. Green Chef is my favorite meal kit. They're actually owned by my other favorite meal kit, which is HelloFresh. So if you've used HelloFresh before, then you already know the drill. But Green Chef delivers pre-measured, perfectly portioned, mostly prepared ingredients right to your door so you can spend a lot less time stressing about what to cook and a lot more time enjoying delicious home-cooked meals. Green Chef is based around healthy recipes and wholesome ingredients, but they offer meals like keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, and so much more. And they are delicious, okay? Family, let me tell you about one of their meals I had the other day. Apricot glazed tofu. It was so good. I need more right now. Their meals in general are just so delicious. And not only do Green Chef meals taste good, they're good for the planet. The most sustainable meal kit on the market, actually. So whenever I eat a Green Chef meal, I feel good about what I'm eating and how it got on my plate. So go to greenchef.com/90chatty and use code 90chatty to get $90 off, including free shipping. That's greenchef.com/90chatty betterhelp.com/90chatty, 90chatty, for $90 off, including free shipping. Again, that's when you use that code 90chatty at checkout. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
I want to ask this question because people always ask this question every single time. It's one of the first ones I'm seeing. But how often do you have sex with your partner? Hard to know what's normal if you've only been in one intimate relationship. And, no shade to the people asking this, but I think this is the wrong question to be asking. I truly do not believe there is any normal.
Mm-mm. No.
I've had different amounts of sex with different partners. Like, I've never had one consistent normal for myself.
I completely agree. And especially different years, different months. It varies so much. I also just don't, and again, this is no shade to the person asking, because this was a question that used to weigh so heavy on my mind, especially when I first got married and I was still, dealing with a lot of that like shame, purity culture, being like the wife and providing a certain like type of sex life for my husband and blah, blah, blah. I would always look up like the national average or like every Cosmo article.
Interesting.
Or whatever would just be like, on average, most couples have blah, blah, blah. And I remember looking at that at different points in my life. And sometimes if we were above that, I would feel this weird, like gross pride about it, where it's just like,
totally.
Bitch, what are you proud about? Like, and then at other points I would feel shame because I'd be like, oh my God, we're not even close to that. And that's the average. And I feel like that culture is so toxic for people to be like, this is the average amount of time. Like, it just creates something that's should be so individual and unique to situations, like make people feel bad about shit for no reason.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what you're talking about with that weird sort of gross pride, I've totally felt that too. If like a friend is confiding in me and like how like, oh, we only have sex like once every 2 weeks or like once a month, and I'm just kind of like, oh, and in my head I'm like, you kind of have a problem and like I don't. I'm like, whoa, back up, that's not right.
Yeah.
But I've totally been there in that mentality of like, I guess my sex life is healthy and yours isn't, and like,
right. And it's just like, and also like it's just so, it then is like this, it creates this environment that doesn't allow people to be less sexual, to be asexual. Like, it doesn't allow for people to say like, hey, you know what, honestly, like my partner and I, maybe we just have lower libidos, and you're gonna like somehow say that our sex life is unhealthy. Maybe we very rarely have sex, but when we have sex, it's great.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Also, like when you're taking into account normal, like how about what's normal for having sex when you're grieving, when you've lost someone, like I've talked about this with a couple friends lately, what's normal when you're stressed and worn thin postpartum, what's normal when you're in a high of your life and you have no responsibilities and you have no financial stress and all that kind of, like, that's all going to vary.
It's so true.
All those factors are going to affect things. I've only recently gotten over it too, like probably a year or so ago, where I was kind of like, who cares? And if we go like 2 weeks without having sex, 2 or 3 weeks without having sex, like whatever, we'll probably like get back to it. And if there's something else that's holding us back from having sex, like maybe we need to have some deeper conversations or seek counseling. But if we're both feeling like good and we're just going with it when we feel it, like,
totally. I and like what you said too, when you say like quality over quantity, I know for us personally, like we used to have way more sex and now we have less sex, but the quality is better because, when I say this, Evan has never even gotten, like, there has never been any sort of pressure. The man, in fact, is the opposite. He's sometimes it's just like, you can explain, tell me when you want to, like, it's fine. Don't feel like you're like, whatever. But I put that pressure on myself coming from this, like, from the Christian culture, but I think that that's just like culture and like so much culture in general.
Feeling the pressure to please your man.
Exactly. Yeah. That I'd be like, oh my God, we have to have sex all the time. Like he has to come home and I have to just be ready to have sex. And it was like, and there were so many times that I wasn't in the mood and I had sex anyways. And it was just like, you know what? Now we have sex when we're both in the mood and wanting to have sex, and the sex is way better. It's way better.
To be honest, I've only really started exercising that the past 6 months. Like, in the past, like, And I guess it sounds yucky when I say it out loud, but I think most women know what I'm talking about. Like, you're like, no, I'm not really into it. And then you're like, meh, fuck it. I mean, I guess, like, who cares? It's not really that big of a deal. I'm not really that into it, but I guess I'll just do it. And it's just, you just kind of like, oh, whatever, go along with it. It'll take like 5 minutes. But I, in the past like 6 months, have really exercised being like, no. And then being like, oh, are you sure? Come on, babe. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
Like, back up. Like, no. And honestly, that's been really empowering for me.
Yes.
You know? And
yes.
So I think that's really healthy to exercise.
I think I think it's really powerful too. And I think, you know, then if you have a partner then who, I know, like, I'm like you, right? For myself, that shifted for me. And all of a sudden, Evan's kind of like, are we okay? Like, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it was actually like such a great conversation to be like, my love, like, this has nothing to do with you. I just realized, and I explained the whole thing to him, like, as a woman, like, this is perpetuated and I have this shame. And like, do you want me going into the bedroom feeling obligated, or do you want me going
yeah,
exactly. Or do you want me to going into the bedroom wanting to jump your bones, right? And he's just like, well, no, I don't want you to feel obligated. And I'm like, okay, then you understand. It's not about you. And also then keeping the line of communication to be like, I also understand that you may be more sexual than me. So that might look that, like, you know, you're going to be pleasuring yourself more, and like, let's have that conversation. And like, maybe sometimes, you know, it doesn't have to look like, you know, you and I are running to the bedroom and having some, like, you know, crazy romp. Like, you know, sometimes, honey, like, let's go high school and do a little handy. Like, I can, you know, it's the open line of communication, I feel like, is really becomes so much stronger when you are doing what you were talking about, where you're just like, no, I don't want to right now. Yes, I want to right now. And just, setting those boundaries. Do you ever find, I realized this recently, do you ever find that when you are having like a lot of creative or like professional energy that you have less interest in sex? Queen. 1,000,000%.
Right?
1,000,000.
Like, sometimes I'm just like in my zone where I'm like, I'm doing this, and this. I have these ideas, and like, I'm literally like, sex doesn't even cross my mind. And almost when I'm approached with it, I'm just like, ew, what is this frivolous pleasure like you talk of? I only have minds for professional things, in intellectual things, you know? It's like, it's business. So interesting. I've really noticed that lately, because I've had like a lot of creative energy at certain times, and I just have no sexual drive during those periods of time.
I completely agree with you. It's almost like when I'm in sometimes, and that's something that I'm actually personally on a journey with right now, because sometimes when I feel really in my like creative business power, I don't, like you said, feel that sexuality at all, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that by any stretch of the imagination. But I love to figure out how to blend the two together more, not out of pressure of any expectation, but more like, I see people who, and I know people who, when they are in their power with business and with creativity, that like heightens sensuality, and they feel empowered sexually. And I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of want a little taste of that. Like, that feels like that would be fun. So I've been trying to, I don't know, that's something that I've been trying to dive into, but that's not how it is for me. It's like when I'm business, I am like, I'm like you. I'm like, don't even get near me with like stay 6 feet away.
But I think it's like, I've heard someone explaining it before. Maybe I'm going to butcher this, but I've heard people explain it as like chi, you know, like life force and life energy. And like, sometimes your life force and life energy is directed towards other things. And so you don't have like that chi to like use for sex at that time, because it's just driving a different part of you.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense to me.
And I've heard of actually men not ejaculating or to like preserve their life force, which might be something different.
That's like a hot thing to do right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No way. I heard about it like years ago at some like, hippie festival thing where they did some panel talking about preserving your chi. Yeah.
The podcast that I listen to, like a lot of the guys are like, we do not masturbate anymore because we are preserving this. And they'd like a few of them are like, I haven't masturbated.
Their girlfriends are like, you're coming in 15 seconds.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting like choice. And, yeah, I think I'm so fascinated by some of the guys who are like, yeah, I used to masturbate really regularly and now I haven't masturbated in like 10 months.
Gray's doing 3 months with no porn right now, which maybe we should have him check in on the podcast and tell everyone about it. Because I made him do it. I said you need to take like, not because it was necessarily, well, I don't know. It's difficult to say what is or isn't affecting your sex life when it's been one way for a certain period of time.
True.
So he's never taken a significant break from porn, since he was a teenager. So I was like, let's just do a little detox. Especially when you're watching, I do have feelings about watching mainstream porn and watching like certain, like the kind of violent sex that is done to women and consuming that imagery every day and this sort of like instant gratification. So anyway, I was like, just like try 3 months. And yeah, it's interesting. He's like, he has noticed different things where now like he's like at work and stuff. Like if a girl comes by and is like, he's like, I am having a harder time in real life drawing my eyes away from girls and like women's bodies that I didn't before. It just like didn't matter. If I would just like, go watch porn when I could and then masturbate, and now it's like he's like being very like more visually drawn to, which is interesting. But anyway,
it's so funny. I can tell now, after having been with Evan for a long time, that like I can tell in the bedroom by just his energy if he has been watching a lot of porn or not. Like it's very clear to me now where I'm like, okay, like I can tell. And sometimes like it's like then we end up getting in a discussion where it's like how frequently do you think like now like we need to balance a little bit more or whatever. But it's so interesting because like you said, Evan, if he's not watching porn, he is like way rowdier in the bedroom and it's way more like, like let's make love and it's like what, and he's doing his thing versus it can get more lackluster when he is like consuming a lot.
Totally. Isn't that interesting? You sort of would think it would have the opposite effect, but I've noticed that too. Like there's almost more like exploration and curiosity and interest when porn isn't being consumed as frequently. Right.
It's just like, what is this? A boob? It's just like fascinated by its crevasses, etc. It's just like, what? Oh my God.
I'm also one of those people that I'm always also one of those people who's always like fantasizing about like, oh, imagine living in the 1800s and like never seen like another naked body before and being like, oh, discovery, like not knowing. Well, I guess sometimes that could be kind of bad, not knowing anything about sex. But I think that's so fun, that idea of like exploration.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally hear you.
Let's pick another question.
Okay. Question for you. Do you think that... Oh, here's something fun. Do you have a weird sex story? Any weird sex stories?
Like, what are we talking with? Like weird? Like freaky stuff? Like what is...
I don't
know. A weird sex story. Oh, one time I had... This is not weird, just kind of gross and stupid. One time I had sex with my menstrual cup inside accidentally.
Oh. Okay, did it hurt really bad?
No, I didn't feel anything. I didn't notice until after. And then I was like, holy shit, I had my menstrual cup in. And he was like, yeah, I felt something poking me. That's not that great of a story.
That's actually like a fright of mine is I have this like fear of getting
a tampon or something.
Yeah, getting something stuck. I'm very scared about that. And I think a lot of it has to do with how long my acrylic nails are because like honest to God, it's already a struggle that I'm like, if I got to fish something out with my sharp ass nails, I'm afraid. Okay. And I guess I just have Evan do it, but I'm just like, it just freaks me out.
Weird though. Nothing that like weird. Like I can't think of anyone like that I've hooked up with who like did something weird. Like I know you have stories. I know you have stories.
You know what? I don't
know
have.
you have them.
I don't have anything that like I don't have a lot, but I do have one that was a really like odd moment for me. And listen, broads, I'm not attempting to kink shame anyone. This is his thing.
I was waiting for that.
God
disclaimer.
bless.
Not kink shaming.
I am not kink shaming. God bless this man. It was just it was not what I was expecting. And I was also, you know, fairly new to like sexual exploration. So it wasn't like I've had all this experience and I've seen different kinks and things. Like I was, you know, a little, was I a sophomore in college? I don't know, but I was a late bloomer. Anyways, so there was this guy that I was like, had gone out on a couple dates with, and
I'm terrified right now.
We end up going back to his apartment and start making out, and he then proceeds to like fully disrobe, but it was like, again, we're in a consensual, like it's all going on, it's fine. And he like very like quickly fully disrobes, right? Like shirt off, pants off, underwear off, socks off. Like without it,
like as if he was in like a basketball like breakout suit. Like all of a sudden he was just like snap, snap, snap. Everything was just off.
Exactly. Like he pulled away really quick and just like, and I'm like, oh, like full nudity. And I'm like, all right, I typically like to like undress each other a little bit the first time. Like that was a little quick, but like that's fine, whatever. He then immediately lays on the ground. And I like crawl over to like flat on the ground.
He laid on the ground.
Lays on the ground. And I immediately like crawl over to try to like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to straddle him and start making out with him. And he goes, he's like, grab that blanket. And there was like a little like throw blanket on his couch. And he's like, wrap my dick up in it. And I'm like, what? And he wanted me to like make his dick cozy.
And then do what?
Like give him a blowjob, but like make the dick cozy first. So I'm literally like trying to figure out like what the guy wants. And he's like helping.
So you're trying to still be sexy about it. Like, just
I'm like pulling it over and I'm just like, ooh, I'm going to put your dick to bed. Like we're going to tuck it in. But I take
nighty night.
And so I take at first the blanket, this like throw blanket or whatever, and I start to like kind of like tuck, like put it over it. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then he kind of like helps me, and he obviously he has his process, and he has it a situation like, you know, in the Charlie Brown Christmas where there's like the little tree that they have, and Linus takes his blanket and like wraps it in a circle around the base.
You know what? This is what I was envisioning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is how he crafted it. And
okay, so like I could kind of see where this is coming from. Like maybe did he want it to be like a glory hole type scenario where it's like an anonymous dick, like anonymous dick disconnected from his body, you know, like, and that you're just kind of like using. That's kind of hot.
Yeah, I hear that, and that makes sense to me. He was more talking about like it feels so good. Like it was more like the cozy comfort, like his dick like needed a little sleepy.
Like it was specifically a blanket. Like that's what he wanted. It was
like a throw that was like that like faux fur, really soft throw material. And I think he wanted his dick to get like wrapped up and be cozy. Now, so I'm a newbie at this. I have not explored, so I am very confused as to like what's going on.
I mean, I you know, it's confusing. It is.
And so yeah,
you're like, do you want me to like jerk you off with the blanket? Like, I was giving him a blowjob and like also like simultaneously like using the hands, doing my thing. Sure.
And he would kind of like readjust me a little bit. Like it would kind of like he'd like readjust the blanket and be like whatever, and not like in a weird way, but like he was like helping me with what he wanted, but like not really explaining what was going on. And then that motherfucker, like, after he was done, it was like, okay, bye. There was, like, no There was no like reciprocation.
Fuck this weird blanket dude.
So he made me fucking go over and wrap his dick up like a weird Linus from Charlie Brown Christmas tree, make his dick all cozy, like put it to bed, and then he was like, bye. I'm like, can I not even explore any of my kinks? Like, I just gotta do this to you?
Straight up, like that should be called like the Christmas tree skirt, because it was like he wanted a tree skirt around. Maybe you should have gotten him a tree skirt and you could just Velcroed it, you know, around, having a nice little blanket situation.
Be like, hey, so my Nana actually is great at crocheting. She made your dick a little dress. And so fuck you for like not like trying to please me at all. But like, here's for your next exploration, or like when you're alone, enjoy.
I'm curious, like, if anyone has any explanation to, like, if this is any kind of specific kink.
Truly, broads, please. Like, and I'm asking.
Please let us know.
Like, please slide into my DMs and tell me if.
Because I thought my theory made sense, but then you said that he was really into, like, the feel, you know?
Yeah, he liked the texture. And I like, if anyone else has experienced this and has been and like has had, or their partner is just like, I love when you do this, like, let me know, because I have not come across that since.
This one I really want to talk about, because I think that there's a bigger conversation to be had about it. Mostly just because I want to talk about it. I guess that's kind of selfish. At what moment did you realize your partner was the one?
Okay. Why don't you go first, since you have...
you begin.
Okay.
Okay, no, actually I will, because then I want to hear what you have to say regarding like bouncing off of what I have to say.
Sure.
I am trying to get out of the one indoctrination. Interestingly, I recently read something about something like called I haven't been diagnosed, but sometimes I have brain things that are like similar to mild OCD. Mm-hmm. And I saw on some OCD page something called like relationship obsessions or compulsions, whatever the fuck I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
OCD stuff related to relationships, where you constantly obsess over whether or not your partner is the one, and then are constantly using tools of measurement to gauge whether or not like, okay, it's been 2 months and I felt this way, but I haven't felt this way. Like, that must mean that they're not really the one. And I have done that my whole life. Like,
sure.
Yeah. In a relationship, being like, and having these little like mind games and tricks of like, oh, well, I haven't felt this yet, and we're at this point, so that must mean like, and I was forced to get over that when Gray and I had Ruth together. Mm-hmm. And I realized how the one idea has really fucked with my brain for so much of my life and so much of my dating experience. Because if immediately according to my gauge, if this person wasn't the one, because for some reason, then I would be like, oh my God, I have to get out of this relationship. I'm wasting my time with someone who's not the one. Mm-hmm. And there are some relationships that I wish I would have just enjoyed and had fun with and let them run its course until they weren't supposed to run their course anymore, and just enjoyed instead of constantly obsessing over whether or not this was my person.
Yep. You know, there's a question later on in this that I had highlighted that said, if you could go back to your pre-relationship self and know anything about dating, what would it be? And I legit wanted to talk about it, because I was like, if I could tell myself anything, it would be just enjoy it. Just relax and just enjoy it, and stop trying to like end game everything. Like, what's the purpose of this? Where are we going with this? Instead of just enjoying to get to know a person in an intimate way and have that be what it is. And if it ends up becoming more than that, great, you'll know. But if not, then you just had this great time of getting to know someone like in more of an intimate setting.
And I don't believe that there's any such thing as wasting one's time. I really don't. Even if the relationship is bad or ends up bad, I think that the cool thing about romantic relationships, and any relationship really, is that they hold a mirror to you. You learn more about yourself through the way this other person sees you and through the things that this person brings out in you. Mm-hmm. And so, good or bad, you're going to learn something, and you're going to be at a different level of knowing yourself and after every relationship, you know? I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, am I feeling the right feelings that I imagined myself feeling when I met the person that was going to be my husband, etc.
Totally.
And And, you know, I feel like I keep harping on this, but it's just really interesting to me right now about the idea of expanding relationships and non-monogamy of like, I mean, look, if God forbid one of us was to even pass away, I mean, if I wasn't to find someone I wanted to share my life with romantically again, like I'm fine with that. But also like then was Gray the one, and then there's no other one, and so then any other relationship I have after is just like subpar to my first relationship that was the one. Like I just don't really see things that way.
Yeah, I'm so interested too when you say like someone like passing away or whatever. I'm thinking about relationally, like in your older years. Like I know some people who ended up in their later years, when they became single again, finding a partner who they lived with and they'd consider their romantic partner, but they never were sexually intimate, but they were romantic with each other, and they were partners and life partners and best friends, and like it didn't have to include sex for them, and they were so happy to be in that situation that they found someone who they connected with in that way. I feel like you know, we've made this like societal norm where it's like you find your one person and they are your perfect match sexually, and you guys are very close and you have a bow. Like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Like,
Did you see the series on Netflix called? You just reminded me of it when you were talking about this. It was something about love. I can't remember what it's called though. Damn it. Maybe it's just called Love. But it's like a mini series where like each episode is about like a different romantic relationship, and there's one about an older couple that gets together after like they're both widows, and then they get together and like they fall in love, and like a part of the episode is just like, we're both so much more easygoing now. Like we don't fight. Like we are in the time of our life where we're just trying to like blissfully enjoy life, and we enjoy life side by side together, and like love each other in this time. And then he passes away, and it's about her like experiencing joy again. Like once her partner, even though it was for a few years, like they shared a beautiful place in each other's lives. I know.
It's so beautiful. It's so interesting to me. Yeah, I know for myself, like if you were to be like, when did I know Evan was the one? It would be like, I knew via, you know, trials and tribulations in our relationship that I wanted to be with him for a long time. Like he was the person who I had, like personally for me, it was like, I have the most fun with him. He sees me, he respects me. I'm attracted to him. Like they're all like those like accumulation of things. I go like, yeah, I want to be with you for a long time.
Don't you think it's a little different too when you're younger? Like you started dating Evan when you're younger, and I don't like when people act like younger love is lesser. It's just naturally more naive, which is beautiful in its own way. But like when you're young too, and you're dating someone, you're like, this is my person, my husband.
Yes.
And like now that's how I used to be. Like with my first love, you know, it was like, this is my person till death do us fucking part.
Yeah. And you're not getting away from me, bitch.
Yeah. And now as an adult, I felt like it was a much more gradual process where I was actually sort of like thinking logically through things in a way that I didn't when I was 17. Mm-hmm. Not to downplay that, because that's beautiful, but in its own right. But as an adult already experiencing love a few times, I don't think the experience of the knowing of the one is quite the same.
I'll tell you this. I mean, when Evan and I, so, you know, we were together for a while, then we broke up, and then we got back together. But the first time we broke up, I think one of the biggest reasons that we broke up is because I was holding on to it too tightly. Like we had both of us put all of our eggs in each other's basket. It was like, it was very much like, you're my soulmate, you're the one and only, or whatever. And especially like, that's always how it is in my opinion, but especially when you're young, that's so much pressure when you're developing and all that like you're down each other's throats constantly. And the bickering was out of control, because it was like, he was always, he, as wonderful as he would be, he would fucking miss expectations of mine, and I'd miss expectations of his. And because we had this like perception of, you are supposed to be my other half, like you complete me. I don't like that ideology of like, you complete me. Like without you, I'm not complete. Like that, to me, that just festers unhealthiness in a relationship. So it's like, we were bickering, we weren't healthy, the jealousy was out of control, all that stuff, and we broke up. And at that point, I would have told you, he's my only one, he's my soulmate, I need him, blah, blah, blah. When we got back together again, we both had this conversation where, and I said it in my wedding vows, where I was like, I knew that you were the one when I used to think that I needed you and I held on too tight. And then when I realized I didn't need you, but I wanted to be with you, was when it worked. And that's to me where it's like, yeah, he is like the light of my life. I treasure him so much, but I don't think that there's not a world that like I could be with someone else and he could be with someone else and be also just equally happy, maybe even more happy. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, and if Evan dies, then it's like, all right, on to the next. When am I going to find my next boy toy? Am I
mean,
right?
If Evan dies, what's going to be the biggest thing is like, do I go young and have the boy toy, or do I go old and have the sugar daddy? Probably old. I don't have time for the youth, honestly. Like, I've heard that having like...
What about both? Why not have an older sugar
True.
daddy and then you also have like a little boyfriend that like takes you out to like the hip clubs and you guys get turned and
That's
you're his
true. I like balance.
mama.
I do like balance in my life.
And then you come home and cuddle with your very old, decrepit husband.
Yes, I put his cute little dentures in the cup and I like clean them and I give him a kiss on the forehead and then I go and sleep in my other room.
I love that. You actually answered a couple of these questions about your relationship because people were talking about like, what is it like knowing your husband since high school? What was the breakup with Evan about?
Yeah, I mean, knowing someone since high school is an interesting thing. I will say I always get funny when I talk about this because I'm a little bit like, do what I say, not what I do a little bit. Like I felt like I was in a situation where I really lucked out, where him and I grew together. But in general, I'm definitely not a huge proponent for getting married super young. I got married super young because of Christian pressure. Like that's just it at the end of the day. And even when I say I'm lucky too, like I should say I'm grateful. Like I'm grateful because I still want to be with him, that we happened to grow in the same direction. But knowing someone young, it is fun because we have some crazy stories. Like, you have
history.
Yeah, and we're able to be like, oh my God, remember such and such from freshman year in high school? Like, and I've known Evan. I've been friends with Evan since I was 10 years old. So we have like, oh my God, remember such and such when we were in 6th grade and blah, blah. Like we have
that's the best.
We have old memories and we grew up in the same circle. So we like know this, like we have these funny stories. So that's really like a fun thing to have, which I think that would probably be hard for me if Evan and I were to ever end, to go into a new relationship and not have that, because that is something that I do enjoy with him.
Yeah, and I totally feel that, because even with Gray and I, like when he talks about memories from childhood and stuff, I'm like, oh, like I wish I got to experience that too, so that like I could know what that was like for you, or like know what you were like at that time. And that's like a really fun journey to have with someone.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's something to be said when people connect with someone who's like, oh, we grew up in the same city, because we have that to talk about. Or people who are drawn to people of the same religious background as them, because you're like, okay, like, we have that to talk about, whatever. But that is it's a fun thing.
One thing I do want to say though, I don't know if anyone asked about any breakup stuff, but I remember after a really bad breakup, I had that. Actually, it's a different fear. The one you're talking about, is like, that makes total sense. But I remember being like, I don't want to start over, like getting to know someone from
the ground
like,
up.
Like
sounds
that's
exhausting.
Yes, exactly. Like that's just gonna be. But I want to encourage any of you that are going through a bad breakup right now, or anything like that, and you have that feeling. I want to encourage you that when you meet someone that you're interested in that you really want to start a relationship with, all that's fun. Even though you're doing the same thing all over again, it's so exciting to like have a new partner and learn those new things. So if you're in the middle of a breakup right now and you're feeling that way and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to get to know someone from square one, when you meet the person that you should be with for however long, it's going to be like fun and exciting and interesting.
And if you don't put the pressure, again, like we were talking about earlier, if you don't put the pressure on yourself of like, okay, I have to meet, like, is this guy, is it going to be long-term? Is this girl going to be long-term? It's like,
is it going to be like the relationship that I had before in terms of intensity? Right. No, but what you were saying makes sense though. Sorry, I feel like we keep stepping over each other with Zoom. I feel like what you're saying makes sense though, because Evan and I were talking about that with friends the other day, with friendships, of like, it is wonderful to share history with a friend and to feel like you just know each other without even having to communicate anything because you've been there for each other through all the shit.
Yep. Okay, broads, here's the thing. Sustainability has taken a front seat in fashion the last couple of years, and I am loving it. So, of course, I have to share my number one most favorite sustainable brand that I buy for me and for my daughter. And honestly, every single person I can give it to as a gift, a special gift, and that is ROTHY'S. Broads, this brand is doing something so cool. They make super, super stylish shoes and bags out of 100% eco-friendly materials like recycled marine plastic and repurposed plastic water bottles. They're incredible. You know we love ROTHY'S. Even Vogue agrees ROTHY'S shoes and bags are fabulous. Okay, you can check that out. The first pair of ROTHY'S I ever got were their best sellers, the Point in Black, which I still to this day reach for all the time. They're an amazing shoe that I wear like as a incredible, like cute little basic, but like a pop statement. But they also have so many styles out now that are so fun, and they have great new patterns coming out constantly. I go on their website and I just drool on a regular basis. They're also so comfortable, it's kind of mind-blowing. And the best part is that they're 100% machine washable, so anytime your shoes or bags need a refresh, simply toss them in the washer and they'll come out looking good as new. And if you have a child, you know being able to put things in the wash is absolutely priceless. My daughter has a few pairs of ROTHY'S shoes and she's obsessed. They come in, like I said, a lot of fun colors and patterns. And of course, she's free to run through as many puddles as she wants because all I have to do is pop them in the washing machine and they look brand new again. Shoes, bags, and now face masks from ROTHY'S. You name it, I'm adding it to my cart, okay? So check out all the amazing shoes, bags, and masks available right now at rothys.com/chatty. That's ROTHYS.com/chatty. Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/chatty today. So, broads, I've become somewhat interior design obsessed over the last year. And I mean, rightfully so, considering that 2020 was spent almost entirely in the confines of my own home. I've tried searching high and low for pieces to add to my living space that I truly love, like high and low. I've been looking like all over the place. And I have to tell you, time and time again, a place I find myself always going back to for absolute perfection is Jenni Kayne. Jenni Kayne home pieces are gorgeous. You're probably really familiar with their luxury wardrobe staples, which are incredible, but I'm telling you, you heard it here first. Their curated collection home essentials, they might be the star of the show. They're just so good. I've been drooling over their furniture for quite some time, but am currently loving their accent pieces like the cashmere blanket. I literally will not let go of it. It is so soft. And something about just a cashmere throw. I mean, it's luxury. It's amazing. And I'm here for it. Let's be honest, 100%. In addition to home accents, Jenni Kayne has the most beautiful handcrafted furniture pieces that will last a lifetime, like beyond high quality. Every design is focused around the most beautiful materials and natural textures. It's basically like the Malibu home of my dreams paired with the most beautiful Pacific Northwest craftsmanship that you could ever imagine. It's like if you came up with a dream Pinterest board that you would just drool over, it would just all be Jenni Kayne. Jenni Kayne, Long story short, every piece is an absolute dream. So find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. Get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATTY at checkout for a limited time. That includes furniture too, broads, okay? That's 15% off your first order at jennykane.com. That's JENNIKAYNE, jennykane.com. Promo code CHATTY for 15% off your first order. This is a quick, like a very random, strange, off topic one, but I'm super curious. Becca, what are your thoughts on period sex? Are you like somebody, do you enjoy having period sex? Like,
yeah, I think there's something kind of like taboo about it and kind of like dirty and kind of like, I don't like actually like dealing with the blood. I should make that disclaimer. I'm not turned on by that personally, and it's messy and kind of gross, but like, there's something that's sort of like dirty about it in a way where it's like, ooh, let's just do it. Cause even though I'm on my period, cause we're so horny, like we don't even care that I'm on my period. Like that's kind of hot to me.
Period sex is one of those ones, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, but that's something that I'm like kind of still working on myself with, like but I'm saying it's a, like, I don't, because of my weird shame background, where I'm like, this is something that is unclean to someone else, so I am embarrassed.
He's going to be grossed out.
Yeah. And so it's not like I don't want to do it. It's like that's one of those ones that I think, sorry moms, but like that was something that my mom it was just like that, you just don't do that. So that's still sometimes when like we're about to like have sex, I'm on my period, I hear like mom in the background, and I'm like, shame, and like, I don't know. That's one I was curious, just because that's one that I'm like, I'm currently trying to like process through and like deal with my like the shame culture through it.
I mean, I've had a couple partners who have just been like, yeah, I don't like that. And I totally respect that. Cause it's like, I understand, like if blood was coming out of my partner's dick, like I might not be into that. Like I can understand how that someone doesn't feel comfortable with that.
Totally.
So I am very like accepting of people that are like, I'm not into it in terms of like partners and stuff. I totally get it. So I feel very neutral. It's like, I'm like, okay, if you really don't want to have period sex, that's fine. Like, but I don't like, okay, I will say this. I don't like when guys are super, like, I'm like, just believe me when I say that like I'm tapering off the end of it, and like I'm just gonna take this is kind of gross, but like I'm just gonna take my tampon out and like we'll have sex, and I promise there's not gonna be like blood everywhere. I'm like, don't be like, just trust me. Like don't be a wuss about it and be like, ew, no, you just had like your tampon in, like I'm not pouring blood, like come on. I don't like that irritates me, where I'm like, you don't have to be scared.
Yeah, 1000% off of that. Do you know what one of my biggest, like, if you want to enrage me and get me to walk out of your house like as quick as I can, if we're having sex, is if we're like making out, we start to have sex, blah, blah, blah. I go down on you, right? And then you won't let me fucking kiss you afterwards. Fuck you.
That's fucked up.
That gets me so mad. Like when guys are super weird about like if, let's just say I swallow, right? Yeah. And it's just like, ew, no. I'm like, I have walked out of someone's home before and just been like,
that's fucked up.
Get off my property. And he's like, this is my house. I'm like, get off my property.
Oh, along those lines, I feel the same way about like if I have a tampon in or like a menstrual cup in and there's nothing coming out and everything's clean, like I've showered, and someone doesn't want to go down on me. Like I'm not talking about anything around the actual vaginal area. I'm talking about just like clitoral area. That pisses me off. I'm like, there's no fucking blood anywhere. There's nothing coming in contact with your mouth. Like, stop it. That makes me really mad.
I get that. See, this is, it's all in the same vein to me, where it's like, I completely understand when it's not someone's like cup of tea and they're like not like comfortable. And that's why it's like, we love communication during sex.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not into period sex, there's no judgment. That's fine. For me, it's like, I know that I am working through it because I know that it's not that I don't want to have it. Like, it's based in shame culture for me. But
Yeah,
when
that makes sense.
Yeah, but and so that's my thing. It's like, if you aren't okay with certain things sexually or not comfortable with them, communicate. But when you're just like, ew, no, I'm like, go away.
Yeah. Also, like, I get mad at, actually, that's happened before with Gray, because I'm like, he doesn't understand how menstrual cups work. So I'm like, you don't have a vagina or a period, so you don't know how this works. Like, I'm telling you, like, there's a barrier here. Nothing's gonna make it out. Like,
Totally. You're like, it's not
describe it any
coming
other way.
out.
I'm like, just trust me. Just trust me. That annoys, but I also do get that too. It's not like I by no means do I force him to go. I'm like, do it. Like, yes, I know I'm on my period. Like, I don't care. No, I don't do that. But I'm just kind of like, okay, understand how it works, y'all.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no. Oh, I hear ya. Oh, even just remembering some of those times gets my blood boiling.
I will say, like, the no effort for reciprocation too, like,
Oh.
pisses me off.
Oh.
Because the amount of times, like, this makes me so mad. It just makes me so heated thinking about it. Because guys' mentality is like, I already came, so like I'm not really turned on. So like I don't really want to like finger you or eat you out because like I'm not turned on anymore. And I'm like, if you ate me out, or if you made me come during sex, and then I just straight up said like, oh, like imagine, oh my God, imagine how guys would react if you came during sex and then just was like, oh, pushed him away, and it's just like, and then just got up and walked away. Like, the dudes would lose their mind. They'd be like, what? I still have a boner. Like,
It is.
but the way that goes the other way, like, well, I'm not turned on anymore. Like, so I'm just not going to do anything for you.
Oh my God. Like, it was like when I had fucking Christmas tree dick. Like, it was just like, he wanted me to perform his specific kink. And then it was just like, okay, so that was cool. Hang, I'll like call you later. And it was like, pardon me?
I remember specifically this guy who we were like low key sexting, not like full on, but just like, oh, like, here's what we're going to do when we hook up. He was talking all this game. Bitch, the amount of times I used to drive to dudes who had just shitty weak dick game. That's hard to say, dick game. Oh my God. So I drove, like, it's of course like 1:00 in the morning, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm like spending the night with a few friends and being like, I'm gonna go like hook up with this guy.
Yeah.
Drove fucking across town, like 20 minutes or some shit. Get there. I can't come inside because it's like, I don't know, whatever. Like, his parents are awake, whatever.
Yeah.
So we hook up in my car. He comes in, I shit you not, probably like 45 seconds. No exaggeration, probably 45 seconds.
Okay.
And then like zips up his pants, and it was just like, wow, okay. And then that and I was like, and I literally said to him, I go, that was it? And he was just like, well, he was such a little fuckboy. He was just like, what are you talking about? Like, oh my God. And I'm just like, I was so livid in that moment.
I would.
And then do you know what? There is so much shit actually with this guy in particular. Oh my God, I have so much tea about him.
This fuckboy, what else did he do?
I have so many. It's actually the wildest thing. I lost my virginity to him. He's the one who I hooked up with, lost my virginity to, but he didn't know it. And then I actually hooked up. Remember this story?
Yeah.
New Broads. I'm going to give you the spark notes. Basically, I hooked up with this guy. There was a guy I was actually in love with at the time. Then later that night, I hooked up. Basically, on the day I lost my virginity, I had sex with 2 different guys because I'm a slut like that. What's up, bitches? So anyway, he was the guy that I hooked up with when I actually lost my virginity. Then that happened like however later on. Then he was best friends with a guy I started dating like 3 years later. Like, they were best friends and then roommates. So I was at one point even living with him, my new boyfriend, and he was living in the room across the way. And get this.
Oh no.
Bitch, I am the most sus. I am not like this anymore. I was so sus.
What?
One time, Jess?
Oh my God, wait. Okay, I think...
Am I breaking up? Am I breaking up?
No. Keep going. I think I recall you talking about this.
I have so many stories. Okay, at one point, like I was in New York, I remember on a trip with one of my girlfriends, I was sexting both of them at the same... I feel actually, it's kind of shitty, but also the boyfriend that I was with at the time cheated on me, so like whatever, it's even. I was sexting both of them, like taking the same videos and the same photos and sending it to both of them at the same time. And it was my boyfriend who I was in a committed relationship with and his fucking best friend and roommate. And I was sexting them both.
I have to know, what was it about this guy? Because it sounds like he was a major shithead.
He was. Ew, but now I'm disgusted by
like,
him.
Was he super hot? Do you just have like a
he
thing?
Was really
that you were like...
really cute. Yeah, he was really cute, and he had this like fuck boy like anyone who's been in art school know what I'm talking about. He had like the art fuck boy vibe where he was just like thought that he was the shit, thought that his artwork was the shit, and he was like kind of cool, whatever. But he was just one of those dudes that was just always like, he was all about his aesthetic, like would only date girls that were like in a certain aesthetic. And so I kind of felt like cool.
Yeah, you felt also special in that way. Like he's
he's into me. But it was also sort of fun and deviant to be like, I'm sexting like my boyfriend's roommate on the side. And then one time too, oh my God, we all got drunk at a friend's house, and I was like, let's drive up to my grandparents' cabin. So we drove up to my grandparents' cabin like at 11 o'clock at night. We just like drove up there, and we were all like the three of us were in bed, and I was in the middle.
It was just the three of you that went.
Yes. Like, I can't believe this happened. This was the perfect setup for a threesome, and I missed out on the opportunity. I know my boyfriend would have said he wasn't down, but like, I think that he actually was probably down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does your boyfriend? It to me, maybe I'm reading into this the wrong way, but to me, it definitely feels like your boyfriend maybe had an idea of what was going on, and like maybe he was down.
I kind of think that he might have been a little bit of a cuck.
Okay.
Like, and I don't say that in an offensive way. I think
a proper
I fully support. I actually want to ask him about this too, because I sort of feel like he might have had an idea. I also would always joke with him, but I was only half joking that they two had like some sort of thing. They had been friends since childhood. They had been friends since childhood, and I always sort of had, I'm sorry for, I know there's someone listening to this who knows exactly who I'm talking about, but I'm not naming any names. But I know there's got to be at least a couple people who are listening who are like, oh my God, Becca. But I always joked and was like, you guys like, oh, like when do you guys hook up? Like, did you guys hook up before I got here? And I don't think anything actually ever happened, but I still feel like there's always been some sexual tension between them, which I am so mad that maybe one day we'll all have a threesome. But anyway,
I know, for real. I'm just like,
I was laying in bed between them. I actually feel really bad about this because this wasn't right. I was being deceitful. He was straight up like touching me, like touching my legs and stuff as I'm in bed right next to my boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Like he wasn't actually like doing anything, but was like sort of slipping his fingers in my waistband and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm getting
a little bit hot and bothered over here. Like, it's so wrong, but it's so hot. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, oh. Especially having this idea in my brain, and maybe it's not true, but just having this idea in my brain that your boyfriend was like into it. Like, that's just, oh my God, this is just like.
But one time I was staying at their house for like a few weeks when I was in between apartments. And one time I got there late at night and only he was there. Like, my boyfriend wasn't there, but I was with my brother, but he didn't know my brother was coming. So he opened the door and he I wasn't expecting this. This was weird to me because he picked me up and like grabbed my ass, like, oh my God, hi, like went to giving me a hug, and I just went to give him a hug, and he like picked me up like kind of hooju style and sort of like had his hand sort of down by my butt, and then he saw my brother behind me, and my brother was like And I
Your
was
brother's just in the background, just like,
and I was like, and then he sort of like put me down all quick. And then later on I was like, Joel, what the fuck was that? And he's like, bruh, I don't know. And we were both like, was he straight up like, if Joel wasn't there, was he about to make like a serious move on me and try to fuck like,
and we'll never know. And that's like why we need to get him on the show and interview him.
so we need both of them on the show to talk about this. Ask my boyfriend if he knew. But then, yeah, after my boyfriend and I broke up, he also admitted that he cheated on me. And I was just like, bitch, what?
You're like,
so,
how dare you? Only I.
So maybe I'll tell him, maybe I'll like, because I never actually told him about that. So maybe I'll just tell him and be like, did you know that me and blah, blah, blah were like, because they're still like best friends. I'll be like, do you know me and blah, blah, blah were like, yeah, sexting at like the same time and yada, 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 yada. He's going to get so pissed at me, but I kind of want to start some shit and tell him.
I mean, honestly, life is dull right now. You should start some shit. Right?
Okay, enough about that. All right. Anyway, but that was kind of some fun shit I forgot about. You ever think back on stuff that happened like years ago and then you're like, wait, whoa, this was like actually really freaky. But at the time you just kind of, it was just sort of what was happening and you didn't think twice about it?
Yes. You want to know?
Do you have any stories? Yes. I was going to say, do you have any stories about that?
So when Evan and I were first dating and we were still in high school together, we were there with so like we had like a group of like 8 friends that were super close. Like we were like the worship team crew.
Wait, I think we've talked about this before.
Did I?
But go ahead.
Okay.
No, not on podcast, I don't think. Like I think you and I have talked about
you and I have probably talked about it. Okay. And we would often, so my parents, like we had
I already know where you're going with this. Keep going. I'm so here for it.
We had the backyard that the kids would come hang in because we had a pool and a jacuzzi at the time. And there was numerous times, but one night that's very vivid to me, that all of us crammed into the jacuzzi, like all 8 of us. And Evan and I were sitting next to each other and he was fingering me and I was giving him a handy in the jacuzzi. And it was like we were all squished together. And no one knew. And like there were some bubbles, but I still don't know how people weren't aware because like, I'm sorry, both mine and Evan's faces were giving it away pretty well. Like I'm like trying to have a conversation and I'm just like, whatever. And Evan is not good at hiding it. Like he just looks like he's about to like pass out the whole time. So you're just like, how are people not aware that this is going on?
Did he come in the hot tub?
No. I could never. You know what I mean? Like that feels very wrong. It was people that just not knowing. Also, in general, to me, like that's not right. Like people don't. But it's like I had this high school brain of like, and I knew.
But also, what they don't know can't hurt them unless people then do actually know. You know,
that's the thing. It was like, you know, I mean, but again. Looking back on it, I don't feel bad because I know all of them did the same shit because we were all dating. Like everyone had like their boyfriend, girlfriend, like coupled up.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that on one of our mission trips to Mexico, one of like my friends was sitting next to me. I was next to this couple friend of mine, and I know underneath the blanket as we were driving to our missions trip that they were doing the same thing, and I was sitting up right against them, and it was kind of just like, well, this is the only way this is the only time we get away with this because our parents are so strict and we can't be alone together. Like, I mean, we could, but like it was such a thing, and I'm like, that's kind of freaky. Like it's like a thing.
I have to okay, so it wasn't exactly where I thought you were going with it, but I'm sure you can relate. In high school, it would be similar where we would be at the one friend's house whose parent didn't care if everyone was there, you know, in the bedroom with the door closed and the parents didn't check in because you know, now as an adult, I'm like, oh, their parent had some shit going on. That's why it was okay for 10 high schoolers to go in the room with the door closed and they would never once check in for the entire night. That
was definitely my family.
Was it really?
That was my house. Cut to my parents getting divorced like 2 years later. It was like, oh, they weren't around because they were fighting. Like in another, it was just like the kids are doing their thing and they're not present.
Yeah, so we had a friend house like that where we would always be at his house, and I'm sure plenty of you can relate. I'm sure you did it too, where we would turn off the lights and we would all, like maybe 5 couples, be not fully having sex, but would be making out, tops off, dry humping, fingering, like
Yes.
all in the same room, maybe like 3 feet from each other.
Yes.
And I think back on that now, and like that was, or in the car. I remember one time we were in the car, me and my best friend, and my boyfriend and his best friend, and we were in the front seat and they were in the back seat, and we were just hooking up, like in the car. Just, yes. Yeah, never, like I said, never fully having sex, but just like car, like, let's start making out. Okay. So weird to me. If I think now about like if the 4 of us were on vacation and we were just in the living room making out, like on 2 separate couches, like that is so, that's headed in a totally different direction. Like, again, no shame, but like that is just a whole nother ball game where I'd have to like mentally prep myself, like we're doing this thing.
This is a conversation that's happening. Like this is a conversation.
Not just like, who's ready to make out, y'all? Like, let's go.
No.
And then just like not think anything of it. Just
no, it's like if
my best friend was getting fingered right over there, and I'm over here with my top off, and he's like touching my breast.
At that point, sexuality was so visceral, and like you were just so caught up in it because it was so brand new to you that like I didn't even notice anyone else. It was one of those things where you were like are my friends uncomfortable that Evan and I are making out next to them? I don't know. I'm fully
to be honest, in high school, probably not. It was like no one really gave a shit.
I know I never cared if like my friends were next to me like making out. I would just be like, I'm either gonna keep watching the movie or I'm gonna leave. Like I don't know, you know.
Me and my best friend later on would just talk about it and be like, oh, how far did you guys go? Like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I saw you guys over there. Like I saw you took off your shirt too.
Oh, I would like, you know what I would live for? I would live when a crew of us would be together and all of a sudden a couple would leave. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so much tea later. Like, I'd be so psyched. Like, I couldn't wait to talk to my girlfriend afterwards. Like, oh my God, tell me everything. Like, where did you guys go? Like, because you knew. It's like, okay, this is going to the next level. And we are all so excited for you.
Or like once we had a tent in my backyard and like my little boy toy when we were like 16 like drove over. My best friend just like went and sat out in the cold like 20 feet away and was just like, you guys do your thing in the tent and I'll just be sitting
what
over
a good
here.
Friend.
Yeah, and then I remember she texted me like, are you guys done? I'm cold. And I was like, yeah, come in.
Getting a little chilly.
Yeah, that was high school. Like I remember being in the limo on the way back from prom and just one couple would be literally just parallel on the seats, just like making out, just like crazy.
Were the people that this was happening with you were like they religious folk or like was it all
my best friend at the time my best friend at the time in high school was not, and like she was having sex with her boyfriend, but like I wasn't having sex. And
got it. I didn't know if it was like more of a religious piece because we had to like kind of do it in secret. So it was like when all of us would get together, it would be like everyone was going ham versus if like your parents are okay with you. So like if you're having safe sex, you know, whatever. I you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess none of my parents' friends were like. Like some of my parents' friends were like okay with like allowing a boyfriend or a girlfriend to spend the night, but like we were still kind of sneaking around and even with those parents it wasn't explicit like you may have sex in my house. It was kind of like don't ask, don't tell, you're allowed to have like a boyfriend like spend the night.
Yeah,
so it was still pretty like everyone I feel like was still kind of slinking around because you're also like in high school, you're usually exploring your sexuality for the first time. So you also feel kind of sneaky, like just because of culture and stuff. So I feel like everyone kind of goes through that, like we're sneaking off to like go make out kind of thing.
There was, you know, what's so funny is my first honestly, my only like longer term boyfriend other than Evan is my friend that I talked about who is queer. And at the time, like he was my poor sweet friend was having to go through all the church stuff and was, you know, trying to process all that and dating me and trying to figure out like, you know, how he felt and dealing with all that shit. And so my mom and my dad though would always take him with us on vacation. Like anytime we would go, even like for 2 days somewhere, my mom and dad would be like, does he want to come with us? And he'd be like, yeah. And they would literally like they would go to bed like really early and just like let us just hang. And they would take him on vacation. And I think back and I go, what a waste that him and I weren't sexually attracted. Well, I was sexually attracted to him, but he wasn't sexually attracted to me. It's like, what a waste that we weren't mutually sexually attracted to each other, because we would have just had the grand old time, because we would just stay up and talk, which was also very fun. But it was like, I remember being so like, oh my God, it's going to be tonight, and so like riled up constantly. But then it was almost like my parents could sense the sexual energy, because like the sexual energy difference, because as soon as I started to date Evan, guess who wasn't allowed and brought on the family trips anymore? It's like they could sense that it was like there was some extreme sexual tension going on here. We're not going to be inviting him to all of our little getaways with Jessica.
You want to know something funny? I don't know why this reminded me of it, but like my boyfriends were always like, I don't know if it's scared or respectful or a mix of both of my parents. I would always be the ones like, if we went on like once or twice we went on a trip, like, and my boyfriend was allowed to come along and like sleep on the couch. Because we were like in a serious relationship, and so he was allowed to come. But my boyfriends were all like, or like one time my boyfriend was allowed to spend the night like in our guest room because he was staying up late with us to watch a movie or something. But my boyfriends were always scared to hook up in my house when my parents were home. They were always, I would always be, yeah, I'd always be sneaking in and be like, come on. They'd be like, no. And I'd be like, come on. They'd be like, no, dude, your parents are like, no. Hell, I'd be like, it's fine, they're asleep. And my boyfriends would just always be like, nuh-uh. Do you want to do some like advice questions before we wrap up?
Let's
like
do that.
Some people ask some questions.
I have a good long question. Should I read one of them?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, one of the broads asks, I was raised in purity culture. Now I see how messed up and toxic it is. And now that I am married, I find myself wanting to try more different things. Pretty much just doing missionary and girl on top, but I don't know what to try and how to go about trying it. When I bring it up, my partner just says, I'll try anything, or I don't know what to try. Whatever you want to try is fine with me. But I've been so sheltered in purity culture that I don't even know where to start. I also feel shame around some of the things I'd like to try. What is some advice on things to try / to how to gain confidence in bed after purity culture?
I just want to bring up one thing before we dive into this question, which is, you're saying some conflicting things, which this is good, because you're saying on one hand, like, I'm been so sheltered, I don't even know where to start or like what I want to try. But then you also said, I feel some shame around some of the things I'd like to try. So maybe let's begin there with so it sounds like you've got some things you want to try. Mm-hmm. I know you do, because I've been there too. Mm-hmm. Like you say like, oh, I don't know what, like, but it sounds like you've got some ideas of stuff that's going to turn you on. So maybe let's start there of the shame part, because it sounds like you do have an idea of what you want.
You know what? You're so right, Becca. You're so right. It's that, and Broad, whoever you may be who sent this in, same with Becca. I've had the exact same situation. I still am processing through those situations.
Same.
Because I remember the very first time that I brought up to Evan that, Broads, full disclosure, Mama likes to try some very mild BDSM things occasionally, right? Mm-hmm. That's a little more like, I enjoy to try that. I felt so much shame about that was something that was interesting to me, that for a long time when I wanted to try certain things, and Evan was always very open to whatever, and he would say, well, what exactly are you meaning that you want to try? And I would be like, I don't know. And I just couldn't say it because I just felt so embarrassed and shamed by it.
I definitely still deal with it sometimes too. Certain things where I'm just kind of embarrassed. I feel really shy.
I still get, what I get shy still about is role playing. I'll just be like, I kind of want to role play, but I feel like shy being like, okay, now I'm going to be,
Yes, I definitely feel timid about that too, because it kind of makes your toes curl a little, because you also don't want to be cringy.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like I would like to be able to win an Emmy for this performance, okay? Like I take my acting very seriously. So like what if I do a shit job?
Pressure's on, honestly. No, I feel you. I definitely still feel shy and for sure. Same.
Yeah. So so just know, first of all, that you are by no means alone. And I think even when you're talking with people who have been removed from purity culture for quite some time, it's still like there's still things that you feel like uncomfortable bringing up. So Becca, I think you totally, like when you said, there are things that you want to try. So maybe take time really like processing through and maybe even literally writing down what you'd like. And just looking at it and like just and just having these moments, maybe spend a week like actually visually looking at, written down what you are interested in wanting to do in the bedroom, and maybe just like having that moment with yourself will make you feel more comfortable saying it out loud to your partner or like owning it.
Yeah. Also, I was just gonna say what's helped me, and this has been just like a recent revelation. I think a lot of times we have these dialogues in our head that we never even consider verbalizing out loud. So before you even talk about what you want, I think what you're saying to us you can have it with your partner and going like, look, I'm not going to lie. I feel really shy or embarrassed or like ashamed of some of the things I want to try. And I know you say you're down, but there's something that's holding me back from feeling comfortable talking about this.
Yeah, no,
and I think just even having that, like, you don't even have to talk about what you want right away. Just being like, I feel like really uncomfortable. And I just want you to know that I feel like really timid and shy, or this is awkward or embarrassing for me. But there are things that I want.
I think that's a great idea. And I don't know, does this seem like, I'm just picturing saying to my partner being like, I feel shy and I'm trying to process maybe what I want. And I know that you're saying like you're down to try anything, like I don't know what to try. What about this? Will you do this for me? Can we sit like you're sitting together, maybe having a glass of wine or whatever, and just say like, name a few things. And if I'm interested, I'll nod, or something cute like that. Like just start saying a few things. And so on a flip side of that, what you have to prepare yourself is to be open now to your partner, what your partner might be interested in trying that maybe you haven't thought about or you're not necessarily like processed through. But like maybe let your partner just be like, name some things, and maybe
name one thing. Just maybe that even might be overwhelming. Name one thing. I'll name one thing, and you name one thing that we both want to try. Because you know what? The way she's wording this, I bet her partner's feeling the same way. Because his wording doesn't matter if you grown up in purity culture or not. I dealt with this with Gray too, where we're both like, I don't even know. No, you both know. You both have one or two things in your mind you're scared to say out loud. Mm-hmm. And you're both embarrassed. Him saying, no, I'm down for anything, but I don't know what that's him like feeling uncomfortable and shy too, and not knowing if you're down or if you'll think it's weird. So that's something that you guys can bond about feeling a little embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, once you start having those conversations about like, I feel uncomfortable bringing this up, you might be surprised how much you and your partner have in common. Like
you're so right. And it like, if you tell each other like we're both feeling a little shy about this, and like you said, this is someone that you're married to, and you are realizing that you want to try things, and clearly your partner is at least open to that. I am telling you right now, this will bond you two in a very special, like fun, sexy way where I don't know if your partner was also raised in purity culture. I always have this tendency to feel like probably yes. I don't know why, like my knee-jerk reaction is like probably, like I don't know. But if you guys have that together, it's like then this like growth together that's really special and intimate to try these things together for the first time and have that to have that conversation, for the first time together. Like, I don't know. It's I know that there is so much shame surrounding it. So even just having that conversation is difficult. I know personally for me, I posted about it recently, but there are some things you can find online, but specifically Evian Whitney, who we've had on the podcast on, Becca's done IGs with her, IGTVs with her. She recently put out a meditation to deal with sexual shame. And it is so good. I've been doing it regularly and it's been helping me so much. Like I was saying, there's been some random things all of a sudden that I thought I was over this that have been coming out recently that I'm like, oh no, I need to work through these things. And just starting there.
You know what I want to say too?
Yeah.
You know what I say too? Not downplaying anything about growing up specifically in purity culture, but there's something I've been realizing, and American culture is purity culture. Mm-hmm. I have to say this. We send so many people mixed messages. Like we say that mainstream culture is sex or like, you know, is sexual or whatever. It's not. And, you know, me being with a man who did not grow up in the church at all, who grew up in liberal LA, still has grown up in a culture that has toxic ideas about what women's sexuality should look like, about kink, about all these different things. And I think that so many people, even if you haven't grown up in the specific church culture, usually have like some aspect of their sexuality that has been suppressed.
Yeah.
I mean, look at even the way, you know, it's only been the past 10 or 15 years that we have seen, you know, queer characters in mainstream TV.
I mean, and
you know, it's like this,
and that's new. That's in the past, even like, few years.
Totally. So my point being is like American culture is extremely suppressive just in general, like not quite to the same level, but I'd be willing to bet that your partner probably, even if they're not raised in the church, can maybe understand some of like the shame or shyness or embarrassment like surrounding some of that exploration. I will also agree with you too that it's something Gray and I in the past, we've been together 3 years now, and it has only been like in the past 6 months where we have finally opened up to a point of trust where we can not feel embarrassed talking about what we want. And it's funny, we used to think that we were completely opposite in what we wanted. And I'd just be like, well, I like having sex like this and you like having sex like this. And like, just don't know if we're compatible. But when we got to a point of trust where we could open up and be like, well, actually, like I am interested in this. Then it's like, wait, I'm interested in that too. Oh my God. And then it's so fun. And of course it doesn't always happen that way. But I think a lot of times if there's something that drew you to that partner in the first place sexually, you're going to find some sort of fun common ground that you guys will bond over and enjoy together.
Totally. And yeah, I agree, like everything you're saying 100%. And I think also then not only with discussions with your partner and being aware of like all the things Becca was talking about, and then also I know a way that I personally started to feel like more comfortable even having conversations was opening it up to myself. So like maybe that means you going online and getting just a simple toy or two and taking like almost even meditative time alone and just being by yourself. No, you know, it's like if you feel comfortable, like knowing if your partner's gone and just kind of experimenting alone. You know, maybe reading some erotica and like if certain erotica is turning you on and you're like, oh, maybe that's a little more of like my speed and just experimenting sexually in your own safe space. I know for myself made me feel more empowered to express myself to my partner in more of like a comfortable way. And then also just like honestly doing things like this, like listening to podcasts, reading articles that are just very sex positive, following sex positive influencers on Instagram makes it just feel like more of a comfortable communicative conversation, as much as like obviously the shame in the purity culture is still there. It just, I know for myself, when I started to follow more sex positive influencers and reading more articles, it was like, it helped me focus like my narrative on what I believe to be the correct thing versus like, you know, my upbringing. Like it just became more what was coming into my brain more often and what I was seeing more often, you know,
which, by the way, I think we should have Evian on the podcast again. Also, we did get questions related to sexual trauma and how to, you know, have a sex life following. I think it might be a great opportunity to bring Jiminica back on the podcast. Maybe she might be down to have some conversations about that too.
You know, I actually was recently just chatting with Evian and Jiminica, who both want to come back on the podcast. Maybe, I don't know if they'd be down. Maybe the both of them could come on next week together and we could answer some more of these questions.
I mean, I'm down.
Does that sound like...
Are you down?
I'm super down. Broads, let us know. But like, I think that would be really fun for our Thursday episode next week. Evian and Jiminica are just so incredible to have them on. And they're like, you know, this is what they do for a living, their education, and I believe they would be able to answer yes, because there were some questions here that were very like serious and I wanted to have a conversation with, but I'm like, I feel like having a professional like Jiminica or Evian on, they'd be able to speak better into that than I know.
Well, yay! I'm excited to continue some of these conversations. So fun as always.
Well, this was so fun. It's it's been a while since we dove into questions like this.
Right.
This is it's always a good conversation.
Ready to do it again. I also think we should have. I do think that we should also have a guys episode where we answer sex related questions.
Love
and get the and just do just. I mean, they'll be so fun and it'll be silly and probably great too. We should do that at some point in the future. There's actually a lot of opportunities that I'll talk with you after too. But I had a couple other ideas too to have for people to have on. So stay tuned, bro.
Oh my God.
If you hate sex content, sorry, time to unsubscribe because we're going to be getting into it.
It's time to get into it, broads. We love you. We will chat soon. Remember, Thursday, we're going to do our recap. Thanks for being patient. But I'm sure I
appreciate the patience.
I'm sure you enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed this episode. So, and hopefully we'll have those special guests for our recap. So we'll chat then.
Chat soon.
Chat soon.